Oh, hello there. It's Anna Richardson here, and you're listening to It Can't Just Be Me. Now, I think today's dilemma is one that will resonate with many, many people. It's all about how best to support a partner struggling with their mental health. Now, of course, navigating these issues comes as part and parcel of being in a relationship, but it can be difficult to know what to do when the person you love most is struggling, and also how best to take care of yourself in the process. We'll be talking about topics around depression, eating disorders, and suicide, so do bear that in mind when you're deciding how and when to listen. As always, you'll find some useful resources in the show notes. Now, without further ado, let's dive right in. Welcome to It Can't Just Be Me.
Hi, Anna.
Hey, Anna.
Hey, Anna.
Hi, Anna.
Hey, Anna.
Hi, Anna.
Hi, Anna.
Hi, Anna.
It can't just be me who's really struggling with staying faithful.
Definitely got menopause brain.
I really want children, and he doesn't.
I had feelings of jealousy.
It's just all around the middle. I feel like a Teletubby.
And then I hated myself for feeling that way.
If you've got any advice.
I would really appreciate any advice.
It can't just be me.
It can't just be me, right?
My guest today is the gorgeous Evanna Lynch. Evanna shot to fame at just 14 years old when she was cast as Luna Lovegood in the iconic Harry Potter film series. But Evanna's life is so much more than just Luna Lovegood. She's played a broad range of fascinating and intriguing roles on stage, on screen, and as a voiceover artist. She's also talked with stunning honesty about some of the struggles she's faced in her own life and brought comfort to a lot of people along the way. In 2021, she penned her first book, The Opposite of Butterfly Hunting, which is a spellbinding memoir charting her journey from girlhood to womanhood and her battle with anorexia along the way. I can already tell she's going to blow us all away, and here she is, Evanna Lynch. Evanna Lynch, I'm very excited to have you here today because you are one of those people that I have quite literally watched growing up in front of me, because you played Luna Lovegood in Harry Potter at just 14 years old. And here you are, a fully grown, brilliant woman in front of my very eyes. Welcome.
Thank you. Anna, I don't know if you know, how excited I am to be here because I just love your show. I love Naked Attraction so much. It's so weird.
That's very kind of you to say. Thank you.
And I just always find you've such a beautiful balance of like kindness and humor.
And then taking the piss.
Yeah, exactly. You're truthful, but kind.
Thank you.
That's a very difficult balance to have. And so when you reached out to me, I was like, I just want to be in a room with you
really
and your energy.
Kind of you.
So,
thank you.
yes.
Now then, it's not all about me, tragically. We've got a really interesting dilemma to delve into today. But before we get stuck in, every week I ask my guests to bring in their very own It Can't Just Be Me dilemma. So what have you got for us, Lynch?
Yeah, okay. It can't just be me who projects deep emotions onto animals. And it really does stress me out because like everywhere I go, there's little animals. And I just feel like all the time they're wondering what is the point of their life? Why are they here?
Oh, Evanna.
Because we're all rushing around. We all have objectives. Whereas like I have to leave my cat for like hours a day. And I feel like I always leave a bit of myself with her and always thinking, what's she feeling? Does she know I'm coming back? You can't text them. And it's actually a problem in my relationship because...
Is it?
Yeah, because my boyfriend doesn't feel that way. He sees animals as like different. And I know they're different to people. I know they don't have this existential despair
Well, they might.
thing. They might though, they might. So he's a gardener, so he is really interested in like ponds, little creatures. He got a little pond in the garden, he put fish in it, and I could never stop thinking of the fish because I felt so sad that this fish wasn't free in a big lake.
Yeah.
I felt really conflicted about it. It got to a point where like anytime we'd have an argument, I'd say something about the fish and he'd be like, are you still thinking about the fish? And I'd just be like, I never stop thinking about the fish.
And what about the cat? It's not just the fish. Think about the cat.
Yeah.
What? No, I hear you on this because I have a rescue dog and I've always had rescue animals. And so for me, I have that entire thing about, is she okay? Is she traumatized? I can't leave her on her own.
Yeah.
She has to sleep with me. She has to eat with me. She has to do everything with me. So I get it.
Yeah.
But I've got to say that it really isn't just you. I think there's lovely, kind people out there that also really worry
Yeah.
about all of their animals and whether they're having an existential crisis.
Yeah.
But I am going to have to pull you back into the studio today and halt this discussion about fish so we can turn back towards the task at hand, because one of our listeners needs some serious help and you have nobly stepped up to the challenge today. Now, fortunately, we do have somebody sensible in the studio to keep us on track with this one. It's the brilliant, lovely, all-round good egg psychotherapist, Sam Pennells-Nkolo. Hello.
Hello, pleasure to be here as always.
Well, you're a bit of an old hat here now, aren't you? You know your way around the studio as well as I do. But we do keep getting you back for a reason, because we all feel in very safe hands
Very kind.
when you're here.
Thank you.
Are you ready, girls, for
Ready.
this week's dilemma?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, this one was sent in to us via email from a listener who didn't want us to share her name, which is fair enough. And by the way, if you want to send in your dilemma via email, that's great. Just email itcan'tjustbeme@podimo.com, just like this listener. She wanted to stay anonymous, so we're going to be calling her Anya. And she says, "Hi, Anna. I've been with my long-term boyfriend for 9 years. We were long distance for 5 years and now we live together. And I think he struggles with depression. He can go long stretches where he's great and we are the best. But then he has these periods where he seems low and cold and won't speak to me. He won't talk about how he's feeling. He will barely look me in the eye. And he won't go to his doctor or seek help. Previously, he's got very low and broken down and acknowledged he's struggling and says he will, but he has never followed through. And the more I try and talk to him, the more he pushes me away. When he's good, I never want to talk to him about it because I don't want to remind him in case I bring it on. We've been having such a good time for the last 5 months, but I can feel him getting low and cold and I don't know what to do. I try to give him space and not take it personally. I keep asking him how he is and he says he's fine, but he feels distant. I also can't help but feel sad and rejected, even though I know it's not to do with me. Although it could be, as he's moved a very long way from home to live with me. What advice do you have to support him? And also, how do I deal with it if this is going to be recurring forever?" Okay, wow, right. So the first thing that I'm struck by here with this dilemma is just how relatable it is. Navigating somebody else's difficulties, their mental health and their moods, their bad moods, is all part of being in a relationship, you know, whether that's with your partner or even a family member or a friend or whatever, but particularly in an intimate relationship. But Sam, I think it's important to kick off with you first, because I want to just have an explanation between the difference between depression and just feeling a bit low or a bit of a bad mood. What is the difference?
I mean, I would say in terms of clients and how they describe it, people say I feel a bit flat, I feel a bit low, and that typically won't last too long. And they find a way out of it and then they've moved to the next stage. People that are chronically depressed will feel like that for long stretches of time.
Okay.
And things like they won't be able to get out of bed, they won't be able to see friends. It's really chronic and it stretches in all parts of their life. So,
is it too much to ask you what is going on chemically in the brain here?
I mean, there's arguments about this because there's ideas about, of course, that they look at brain scans and they look at serotonin levels. And if we look at antidepressants, they can raise the serotonin levels. But then if you look at exercising, for example, it's shown to prove times 4 more effective than certain drugs.
Really?
Yeah, but it depends what it is, etc. Brain chemistry, we're all different. So if you think about giving one pill to one person and see how it affects them, is it going to affect someone else exactly in the same way? No, not necessarily so.
So actually this is a sort of 360 holistic thing of there's several things going on with depression.
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Evanna, I mean, you were nodding away during this. What are your initial thoughts when it comes to this particular dilemma?
Well, first of all, I think, so Anya, the listener, I think you can tell she's someone who just loves him as much as you can unconditionally. I don't know if I fully believe in unconditional love, but like she's really there for the long haul. So I just think that, for one thing, is amazing, like to have that from a partner. I really relate to this struggle because, I feel very lucky in that I started therapy when I was 10. And so I got very used to like feeling a feeling and expressing it. And that's a very healthy way of doing it. And I feel like I'm at this stage of my life, I'm just queen of therapy. I have like a healer, I have a shaman, I've got a lady who cleanses my womb. I'm the person to go to if you want someone.
I quite literally love the fact you've got a lady that cleanses your womb and you've got a shaman as well. I've got a shaman as well.
Oh my God, it's the best.
Sam, have you got a
Life-changing.
shaman?
I haven't, but
You
I think I
need
need to
one.
get one.
Happy to connect you. But this is what I mean. And then I've been in relationships, I'll talk about a particular one, but be vague because I don't want to share the person.
Of course.
Someone who was struggling with like alcoholism, and I could really see this person as just, so beautiful, had everything going for them. And then they would have this thing that would derail everything. And I was there like, I'll help you. I've got this person and this person. I know people who've been through this. I've read all the books on this kind of thing. And this person just wouldn't get help. And they kept doing the same destructive patterns, same cycles. And I think the hardest thing to learn in relationships is that it's like 50-50. A relationship, that person has full agency and autonomy, and they can make decisions that can crush you. And that's the thing in relationship. You just have to surrender and go, I can't change this person. And I really, really, really tried. As in, I saw it as to help. But this person just wouldn't make the decision. And actually, it was something my therapist said to me, because I was really struggling in that it was affecting my life because I was so deeply involved. And I kind of thought I had reached a good point. I said, right, I've given an ultimatum. I've said, if you start drinking again, that's it, that's done. And my therapist said to me, fair enough, but I've talked about this a lot. I won't go into it. But when I was younger, I had an eating disorder. And she said to me, if someone had said to you, if you don't get better, our friendship is ended, would that have helped? And it was such a wake-up call because it was like, oh my God, that would have only added stress to my problem. It would have made me more secretive. It would have made me cut that person off and not be honest. And yeah, it would have made the problem worse. And so I came to a point of going, okay, I have to be prepared for the fact that this person might not change, and I have to love them unconditionally and also know my own boundaries.
And so I guess for you, Evanna, you're so used to therapy, you found that so helpful.
Yeah.
And it healed you in many ways, that you're a big advocate of being able to go to therapy and expressing how you feel.
Absolutely. Whereas I think, so say with the person I was talking about who was struggling with alcohol addiction, it just so terrified of speaking. Like literally there was a big disconnect between their feelings and sharing them. So they had developed this pattern of hide it, drink and you'll feel better.
I see.
Yeah.
And how on earth, as a partner, did you manage that relationship? Because that's incredibly, incredibly difficult to manage. And it sounds a bit like you love this person so much, you wanted to help. You're also trying to rescue him. But how did you manage that?
It was very hard because I didn't understand it. I'd not really been around it, and I did on some level. But it came to a point where it was affecting my life and mental health so much because things like they'd call me at 4 a.m. drunk and I wouldn't get a good night's sleep. I started lending money because I felt so bad for them, and then I guess I just slowly built up boundaries to go, you cannot call me at this time. I'm never lending you money, even for 50p for the bus or whatever it is. Boundaries, things that it was, and this is why I relate to Anya. It's like, how much can you take? I think you have to really, really understand that, because otherwise they're not going to protect you in that way.
Well, they can't protect themselves, can
Yeah.
they? So that if they can't protect themselves, they're never going to be able to respect your boundaries either.
Yeah. And it got to a point, I suppose, where the only person you can be responsible for is you. Your first loyalty is to yourself. And there's a phrase, and it actually really helps me. You change people by your example, not your opinion. And it's something I really live by now.
Well, that's a great phrase, actually.
Yeah.
So, but you're quite right to say that ultimately only you have the agency and only you are able to change. But let's turn this on its head, because so far we've looked at this dilemma from Anya's perspective of how does she support, a very unwell, depressed partner. But there's another side to this, which is the perspective from Anya's boyfriend. Have either of you two struggled with your mental health whilst in a relationship with somebody?
To be honest, that relationship that I talked about, that was the first one where I wasn't this is not the right term, but quote unquote, the crazy one. I remember kind of going like, wait, this is all wrong. I'm supposed to be the mess.
Oh, but that's interesting in itself.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much every other relationship. But do you know what was weird? It's strange to confess this, but like I wasn't in love with those ones. There's something about being, I don't know what it is, but being with people who are more vulnerable has made me grow up, and I think that's something I have to watch. Like my current boyfriend, I shouldn't say current boyfriend, my boyfriend. My boyfriend the other day said to me, he was like, do you realize in the past, he got annoyed at me because he goes, you asked me in the past hour, am I okay 5 times? And it was because he was in a mood and I kept going, are you okay? Are you okay? And I wasn't asking him, was he okay? I was more asking, am I okay? Because your mood is making me not okay. So I have to be careful with coming back to me, not taking on your feelings, not putting mine onto you, just like staying solid in myself and letting somebody else have their moods, whatever it is.
I think that is so important and so relevant. But again, I'm just going to ask Sam whether she's ever been the low one, the depressed one, or the anxious one within any relationship. So in other words, your other half's had to deal with your
Yeah,
with your moods.
definitely. I think there's been moments where I've been flat, where I've been low, where I've been, going through something, but I've always had the support. So I've known where to go, and I know they can't essentially do anything. I have to do the work, and I know how to do that because of what I do, I suppose. So I have my own therapist, I have my own ways, I know what works for me. So
But when
that's what
did
I've
you
done.
realise that that's what you needed to do? Because when you were younger, you wouldn't have known that.
No, I don't know. I think it was when I was much younger. So let's say in my early teens, late teens, university, I realised things like, and it wasn't sort of conscious, but I thought I would train a lot, I would exercise a lot, or I'd swim a lot, and it just made me feel better. And it sounds so basic, but that's just what I'd go and do. Me and the gym, or me and swimming, or me and seeing a friend, and it just made me feel better.
So
I would,
instinctively,
yeah.
you just knew
Yes.
what to do. So I'm not going to take this out on other people. I need to do something, whatever it is, exercise, seeing friends, whatever, that
Yeah.
makes me feel better. So you were accountable.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Don't you find as well, like if you were with somebody, like if you're with a partner, you just want them to accept you and love
Yeah.
you how you are. I think if, to have somebody who's getting too involved in your mental health and
Yeah.
making lists of how to help you, that to me, that would make me feel suffocated. And I have to remind
Yeah.
myself of that with relationships too, because it goes the other way.
It is difficult though, isn't it? I mean, I'm thinking about, I've definitely been through some periods in my longest relationship where I was struggling a lot with anxiety and low mood. And it must have been an absolute nightmare for him because, there's nothing the partner can do. When you're in that space of depression and anxiety, there's nothing really that your boyfriend can do.
Do you feel like it's not for a partner to get involved in that? Or did you want him to be?
That's a really good question. I think I wanted him, and now with my partner, I think I want somebody who is rock solid, who is there for me, who isn't going to fix me because that's my responsibility, but who I just know is reliable and kind and loving and isn't going to leave. Maybe that's part of the.
Wow.
Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. That's really interesting. I want to go back to you, Evanna, and also Anya, because she's saying that when her boyfriend is feeling better, he's great.
Yeah.
And that they're the best. I mean, I can really identify with this. But it sounds to me as though the threat of his low mood is making her really anxious. And you picked up on this, Evanna, earlier on, where you were saying, I'm double checking with my boyfriend all the time. Are you okay? Are you okay? So I'm wondering at what point this becomes quite toxic. What do you think?
I think we have to be really mindful of where we are, what we need, and where our own line is. Because it's very easy to fall into this trap of trying to help people, do things for people, fix people at the cost of the self. And once that starts happening, you start to feel eroded and underconfident, and that is not healthy. So it's very much, as Evanna said, that looking inwards, is this good for me? And I would say always put your own mask on first. Always.
Can you fill us in a little bit with the concept of codependence? Because I'm just wondering when I listen to Anya and read her dilemma, whether there's a little bit of codependent behaviour going on here and whether that might touch with Evanna and myself as well. Is that fair to say?
Well, yeah, I suppose sometimes we become the saviour. We become the fixer. That becomes part of our identity. I'm here and I'm going to help him or her. I'm going to do this. And that becomes part of our identity. It's quite unhealthy. Yeah. Again, how much can we actually help somebody else? They have agency. They have autonomy. We can support. That's a different thing. But if we feel like suddenly I'm here to save you, to fix you, we've already gone over the line.
Especially with like a partner relationship, that's dangerous when it becomes this like carer, mothering relationship. Like I think that's quite bad for the chemistry. I mean, I struggle so much with the boundary between like compassion, love, and then I don't know what it is. Yeah, codependency. It's like, and I have to do exercises to kind of just like if I was in Anya's situation, and I have been with a very moody partner and going, it's ruined my day, and I was having a good day, but your mood being around you, it's like I absorb it. I have to do things like, in that situation, go for a walk, go read a book. And it's so hard because you're so involved with your partner that you just want to sit there and have a big therapy session with them and help them. But I just think that's, for me personally, that has always been bad. And I have to go away, let them be sad, let them be depressed, and know that when they're ready, they will come to me, and just look after my own energy.
That can be difficult to learn.
It's very difficult. We absorb other people's energy. So if you're in a good mood, you go home, how was your day? And you're met with flatness, what's going to happen? You're going to be flat.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. So just from a practical point of view for Anya, should she be addressing this issue with her partner when he's in a more positive headspace?
That's a difficult one, because I would say to have a conversation and say, you let me know when you'd like to talk about it. So it takes, again, why is the responsibility on Anya? The responsibility isn't hers. Give them the agency that they need. So when you want to talk about it, I am here, and leave them with that.
Okay.
Can I ask you, like, what is the best way to get someone to therapy? Because you must have so many people who you are feeling that, I just want to help you.
I mean, it's such a hard question. As you said, it's when they're ready. You can't force them. There have been people that have tried, that have gone, okay, my work's forced me to be here. And we say, well, let's try and make the best of it. And they have to want to be there on some level. There isn't a way of forcing them, pushing it. And then the work, nothing comes out of the work.
Really?
So if they don't want to be there,
if they're not invested in it, then what's the point?
There's no, so I think we can't force people. We have to let them do it when they're ready.
So they're the only clients you can't help?
Well, if they don't want to be there, it's hard work.
Yeah, it's fruitless. Yeah, it's fruitless. You see, I love this. I'm fascinated by this. I think so often, and particularly as women, we end up in a parenting role, don't we, with our partner? Does this sound familiar, Evanna?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Why do we do that, Sam?
I'd say it's conditioning. Again, it's socialization. It's what we've seen.
This is socialization because having emotions is seen as feminine and is seen as less desirable in men.
Very true. If you look at alpha males, if you look at nature, what is it that women, if you look at the animal kingdom, what are we attracted to? What is it? And so again, it's everything that we've been bred to believe, that it goes against the grain. So it is very hard, I think. It's hard for men to then come and be sort of this metro man that talks about his feelings, but also can fix a car, but also is an alpha. It's very difficult. So, yeah.
Can I just say, though, I love a man that can cry. Any men listening to this, like, women love vulnerability. I love that. I think someone who can be open and honest. And my boyfriend cries and I love it.
Oh, I love him. But what makes him go? What tears him up?
Family stuff. Yeah. If he ever sees or old people who are lonely, that kind of thing, he gets really involved. Yeah, he cries all the time. Not all the time. Sorry, I make him sound like he's falling apart, but he's just there's no judgment around it.
Well, he's got emotional intelligence, clearly.
Yeah. So I guess I just wanted to say that out loud to any men listening, that people appreciate it. And if they don't, they're not really worthy of you. They're not there for your full self, I think. And do you do you have
I love, if we're going to talk sort of genders, then absolutely I have always been involved with mainly guys who are very emotionally intelligent.
Really? Okay.
And, have very good relationships with their mothers and their parents. And they're very in tune with their emotions. And yeah, I like that because clearly, we're doing this podcast, I like to talk. I like to talk about emotions. I like to understand how I feel and how somebody else feels. And I want to fix it. So, you have to have a guy that is open to that. Otherwise, where are you going with your relationship?
Yeah.
So I'm with
depth.
you. Yeah, exactly. I'm with you, Evanna. I like a guy that gets it and wants to talk about emotions.
Otherwise, it's like a bit too one-sided, isn't it? It's the relationship. I like that because I believe, everyone has feminine and masculine energy and different, that we can bring out different sides of each other. And if somebody is just all macho, all masculine, like I don't get to embrace my masculine side, the caretaker and
I think that's a very good point, that we're so polarised, aren't we, with our genders, and actually we do need to be encouraging both sides of that masculine and feminine within ourselves.
Yeah.
Now then, I really do think that Anya's problem is something that's going to be relevant to pretty much anybody who's in a relationship. I want to give some solid advice to her. So at the end of her email, she says, "What advice do you have for me to support him?" Sam, I'm going to come to you here first. What should Anya be doing to support her boyfriend if it looks like he's about to go into a very low period?
I mean, firstly, I would say she absolutely has to support herself first. So she needs to be in a place where she's able to manage that stress, because it's very stressful dealing with a partner that's going through mental health issues. Then again, they could have conversations if he's open to therapy, to what works for him. But again, when people dip, it's what they say when they're in a good place is different to what they might do when they're in a difficult place. So I would say the key message is keeping herself in a place where she can manage that, where she knows, I will be okay with this. I will be okay, manage myself, be there to support. There's a very big difference. I can be there, I'm here, but you have to be strong in oneself, which is very difficult. That would be my main, I mean, I know it's probably not what people want to hear, but that's what works, actually.
Well, and this is such a difficult question. She also asks, how do I deal with it if this is going to be recurring forever?
My feeling with Anya is that, like, she's sort of stuck in a rut, okay? Like, and I would say, Anya, you've been in a relationship for 9 years. You've tried everything with the boyfriend. You've tried to give him all the links, all the resources, all the help, and that hasn't worked. So I wonder if she were to change something in her behavior, would it actually wake him up maybe? Would it give him the wake-up call? Like, if when he's in, and this is actually because this has worked for me in relationships, if he's in one of those moods, if he's in a depression, rather than being with him on the couch, sinking to that place with him, what if she goes, hey, I'm going to go out for a run, or I'm going to a movie. And that's very hard when you're kind of leaving your partner in a dark place. But the current way is not working of trying to get him to change, trying to force him. So what if she's going out doing things she loves and protecting her energy, not sinking into that place with him? Maybe he'll start to go, damn, this person might leave me. I actually have to address this. I think he needs a wake-up call, and I don't think it's working the way she's currently doing it. So personally, I would change those moments, deliberately change the energy, change her behavior, which will be hard, but she can do it. And do things that will focus, as you said, Sam, and like everything you have said has just affirmed to me that you can't change your person, but you can change how you react to things and how she manages her space and her health. And the more she gets back into her space, back into her body, not taking on his stuff, I just think the stronger she'll be, and it might inspire him.
So this is a very difficult question off the back of that. Is it okay to leave somebody because of their mental health?
Well, I suppose if you think about any relationship, people leave people for a number of reasons, because they don't love them anymore, because they irritate them, because they've had enough of them. Terms and conditions absolutely apply. And that is not, no one wants to hear that. That's not what we've been sold.
It's not what we've been. So you're saying T's and C's apply?
Of course they do. Absolutely.
That's tough to hear, isn't it?
Yeah. It is, but I like it. It's harsh truth. It is truth. One thing, like I'd love to ask you, like Sam, is if somebody is in such a bad way that they're like threatening to hurt themselves if you leave them, how the hell do you handle that? Like, is it, and it's hurting you to be with them? Like, do you make sure they have a support system and then leave, or? I mean, you could be ruthless and leave, and it's still not. It's not your responsibility, but that's hard when you care about them.
Very hard. I mean, I would put support systems in place, and there's only so much you can do. I mean, if you look at mental health workers, psychologists, psychotherapists, it's very interesting if someone comes to me and says, I'm thinking about killing myself. I'm under no, again, I have to say ethically, where am I with that? Okay, how much do I believe that they're actually going to do this? Is this an empty threat? Okay, let's talk about this. In terms of a partner, it's very difficult because they would have to have their own support system in place, and they would not necessarily have to, but if they feel comfortable, try and put as many things in place to support that person.
Would you suggest, for example, an intervention of, look, I've called your family and, and I'm
family,
concerned.
friends, mental health workers, if they've gone to therapy before, their therapist, all of those things, depending on what they're going through, rehab. But the client has to agree to that. The person has to agree.
Which brings me to my final question, really. What should Anya's boyfriend be doing for himself? Because so far we've really focused on what can Anya do, what can he do?
I mean, again, this is a really tough one. When people are depressed, they don't see it as a choice. It's not like they want to be like that, but they have to be at a point where they can either, if they think they need medication, they could go to the doctors. If they think they need therapy, they need to do the work. That's the only thing that will work in the end. But it's difficult when we feel that low to do that. It's so hard. But most people I've worked with, they just get to a point where they just get fed up of feeling fed up. So they do something. If you can do anything, if you can walk outside, if you can get to your GP, if you can go and see a friend, anything is better than doing nothing. Anything.
That's such sound advice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anything is better than nothing. And actually, I love the fact that you're talking about do the work. You have to do the work. I think often, and you must see this as well, Sam, that, and I've certainly got friends in this situation where they've had a lot of therapy, but nothing seems to be changing. So what do we say about that? That really you have to do the work.
Yeah.
You've got to face yourself and you've got to make some changes. Is that right?
You have to take action. So
Okay.
I always say to all my clients, it's great that we're in this space, we can talk, but I'm a massive, massive believer. You have to do something. You have to activate the choices that you've made and do something, or nothing will change.
What about, say, there are people with the victim complex. There's some people, and I don't know if this is Anya's boyfriend, but there are a lot of people who they get depressed. And yes, they are in pain, but there's something in them that likes the identity of victim. And my therapist has told me about this, of how there are some people who just keep coming and they don't want to do the work. They want to have the pity and they want to see themselves as a victim. I wouldn't, what do you do as a therapist?
I mean, that's actually a psychological, I suppose, space that we call it a secondary gain. So what's the secondary gain of you being like this? You get a lot of attention. You get people to care about you. You get to talk about it. So I'll say to clients, do you actually want to change? And a lot of them say, no.
Really?
Wow, they're that honest.
Yeah, they say,
Wow.
actually, if I could wave a magic wand and say it's gone now, you've got OCD, you've got ADHD, whatever it is, if I could wave it and it's gone, would you want that? They say no, because they don't know a world without it. It's very confronting to think, okay, this is what I've been living with. Suddenly it's gone, who am I without this thing?
So it's like their structure that they can't live without.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Well, it's how's that behaviour serving you?
Yeah.
Even though it's a really negative behaviour and it's driving everybody away, how's it serving you? I think, as Sam says, well, it gets you attention. It's who you are. And that could be very difficult, can't it, to change?
Because we identify with that. That becomes part of who we are, our narrative. And if we take that narrative away, what are we left with? We have to have something else to replace it.
Yeah.
So the work has to be done. If this is gone, what does it look like? And we start to rebuild and scaffold your life like that. But it is, if we've had if someone says, I've been suffering with anxiousness for 20 years, take that away. Where'd they go? It's quite frightening, actually, even though it's negative. But our brains are primed. 2/3 of our thoughts, our brains, we're primed for the negative. It's only 1/3 that's primed for sort of positivity.
Right.
So we really have to work hard against it all the time.
Anya, if you're listening, thank you for sending in your dilemma. I have to say that you sound like a really supportive, brilliant girlfriend. And to be honest, I think your boyfriend is very, very lucky to have you there by his side. So I hope that today's conversation was helpful to you in some way. And we'd really love it as a team if you kept in touch with us and you let us know how it's going on. And of course, thank you to the two gorgeous women sitting across from me. The empathy and the wisdom that you've both brought to today's conversation has been really invaluable. So I've learned a lot today. So thank you.
Thank you.
To you both.
Thank you all for opening up. It's just so nice. I love these kind of deep conversations. Yeah, could do it all day.
I think they're important. They're important to have. We do have a little bit more work to do before I can release you from your pen, because I've got a couple of quick-fire questions that I want to launch at you. Is that okay with you both?
Yeah, bring it on.
All right. The first one is from Stephen, and he's from Glasgow.
Hi, Anna. It can't just be me who really struggles navigating my desire to stay in and my partner wanting to go out all the time. They're an extrovert and I'm an introvert, and I want to know how we balance our needs in a way that makes us both happy.
Crikey, Evanna.
Gosh, I don't know if I could be with an extrovert for this reason.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think I could live with them. I don't think so, no. Because when I go home, I'm like, this is where I recharge. I actually fell out with a roommate over that particular situation because he just thought I was so boring. And we got on so well as friends. But then when I moved in, he just wanted to go out every evening. And I was like, this is incredibly stressful. So I don't know, with a relationship, I'd probably be like, you have to work out a compromise. Like maybe, is there 2 evenings a week where it's like, that's it, you're going out? And they have to respect that you need your space to recharge. But yeah, that's a hard one.
Sam, you were talking about the T's and C's of relationships.
Yeah.
Is this a T's and C's moment?
This is something that couples talk about a lot, actually.
Is it?
It is, yeah. They come in and say, one wants to go out, the other one doesn't. And you're so right. It's the idea of the compromise. Okay, let's look at the week, let's structure it, let's have a conversation. But I think it's just a negotiation and deciding what works for the both of you.
And speaking as an introvert, I would say to them, it's very important for us to be prepared for like going out. Like if I have to mentally psych myself up, but if he says on Thursday we're going out, I'll get there, you know. But if they spring it on you, absolutely not going out. So I think, yes, just speaking as an introvert, I think that's important to communicate. That needs to be planned.
And just in terms of these terms, these labels of introvert and extrovert, what exactly do they mean, Sam? Because I know you're not a fan of labels.
Well, it's always that the extrovert is meant to be positive and out there and fun-loving, and then the introvert is boring and at home, never going out. I mean, it's that kind of thing that's what people think. It isn't that. It's just, again, those labels are so reductive. And when we don't fall into 2 labels either. So I suppose it's this idea of like looking at our partner holistically and saying, well, what does this look like? Sometimes maybe they do want to go out all the time. Maybe not other times. Sometimes. I'd say strip away the label and as you said, know your partner and what works for them and yourself.
Thank you, you two. Moving on. The next one is from Amy from London.
Hello, Anna. I'm 25 and I've got a problem. I'm not sure if I should share it, but I am a virgin and I'm 25 and I'm just not sure if it's normal. All of my friends aren't virgins, so it's quite disheartening to hear that I've been left sort of in the dust and collecting dust by the sounds of it. But yeah, I know that it can't just be me. So yeah, just looking for some advice on that. Thanks, darling.
I love Amy.
Me too.
Some amazing energy there. Thank you, Amy. So Amy's 25 and still a virgin. Evanna, what would you advise?
God, I think more power to you, Amy, for knowing, I mean, I don't know the circumstances, but knowing your boundaries, not being peer pressured into it. I was peer pressured into it from the career I chose because I was auditioning for all these parts of sexy 16-year-olds, whatever, which is not me at all. And so I kind of was like, oh, I better get it out of the way, which I did. And I really regret that. I wish I'd slowed down because it was like rushed. It was meaningless. I would just say to Amy, I don't know a whole lot about sex. I still feel like a novice, even though I'm in a long-term relationship. But what I learned from it is it's so much better when you slow down with everything. So exactly what you're doing, like being sensitive, protecting yourself. I think keep that approach and you'll find the right person to trust. And even when you get to that point, when you know you want to be with someone that way, slow down every bit. It's just so much better. So I wouldn't feel bad. I would feel proud of that and also feel free to make that choice when it's right. But so many people I know regret just getting it out of the way.
I think it
was a wasted moment.
That's such perfect advice, Savannah. It really is, because I think if I look back at my teenage years as well, I think I probably feel the same way, which is like we're just in such a rush
Yeah.
to get it over and done with, and then go, yeah, I've had sex for the first time and it's done. But you're right. I mean, Amy, yeah, reclaim this and
Yeah.
more power to you. And just
Your body knows.
yeah, body knows. And actually, it's not a competition. It's not a race as to who can lose their virginity the first and have the most sex. You just wait, girl. And do you know what? The greatest advice that I can give you is wait for the right person to do it with. If that's one thing that I could say, is don't rush it and make sure that he or she deserves you. What would you say, Sam?
I mean, I think you've said it all, both of you. I think wait till you're comfortable. There's a reason. And even that, again, I don't like the word normal. What is normal? Culturally, in society, we've learned that, okay, this is just what we do. Is it though? In some cultures, they don't do this. In some religions, they don't do this. And that's normal. So I'd say go with your gut and do what feels comfortable for you.
Yeah.
Evanna, it has been a joy.
Oh,
It's been a
likewise.
delight. It's been a total pleasure to have you join us on It Can't Just Be Me. Thank you so much for being so open. Thank you for your wisdom and your empathy
Oh,
and your care as well with today's dilemma.
thank you for having me and for creating this space. I just think it's so important what you're doing, like to normalize these conversations. And as you say, I have that thought many times a day. It must just be me. So listening to this podcast really calms
It
me down.
isn't. It
Yeah.
isn't. And of course, thank you too to Super Sam for joining us from the London practice and sharing your professional expertise. It is just so lovely to have you with us always, Sam. And I hang on your every
Oh,
word.
you're so kind.
And I'm secretly stalking you because I want you to be my therapist. So until next week, my lovely listeners, when I'll be back with another episode of It Can't Just Be Me. In the meantime, please keep leaving your dilemmas at itcan'tjustbeme.co.uk or email them to me at itcan'tjustbeme@podimo.com. Whatever you're dealing with, whether it's love, sex, friendship, trouble, or anything in between, I want to hear from you. Nothing is off limits, you know that. And remember, whatever you're dealing with, it really isn't just you. From Podimo and Mags, this has been It Can't Just Be Me, hosted by me, Anna Richardson. The producer is Alice Homewood, with support from Laura Williams. The executive producer for Mags Creative is James Norman Fife. The executive producers for Podimo are Jake Chudnow and Matt White. Don't forget to follow the show, or for early access to episodes and to listen ad-free, subscribe to Podimo UK on Apple Podcasts.